I had already told you all a little bit about ma'am on the assembly, and you can see over here, Women Beyond Boundaries. So ma'am has the true spirit of adventure. You all study geography, she experiences it. You know, she is really living it. She is going all over the world, traveling by road, and she will come to know when you hear her talk how exciting those adventures are. And maybe you people will be also inspired by her adventures, and maybe in future we'll have more children from Jaipuria who will be somewhere here talking to others in the world. Okay.
Eleanor Roosevelt said, and I quote, "The purpose of life is to live it, to taste experiences to the utmost, to reach out eagerly and without fear for newer and richer experiences." Good morning, everyone present here. On behalf of St. Emma Jaipuria School, we welcome Mrs. Nidhi Tiwari, a member of Women Beyond Boundaries. This organization offers extreme overland journeys and signifies mobility of women. Ma'am Nidhi Tiwari, a mother of two, an army officer's wife, an overland adventurer, off-road jeeper, and outdoor educator. With her three friends, she set out on a truly sensational 17,000 kilometers long road trip from Delhi to London without a backup vehicle. This amazing trip took 97 days, crossing 17 countries. Ma'am Nidhi Tiwari is now embarking on a first-of-its-kind solo expedition to the Pole of Cold in Siberia, where temperatures dip to as low as -50 to -70 degrees centigrade. Please put your hands together for Mrs. Nidhi Tiwari. A single woman from India who is attempting to drive 5,000 kilometers in the hardest terrain on earth.
Hi. So you heard a lot about me, and I'm going to bore you for the next couple of minutes because I want to tell you what brings me here. Who am I? You guys, Nidhi. And what do? I drive. I'm basically a driver. I get hired to drive. And I get hired to drive on really, really rough roads. So, which is what extreme overlanding is. So what drives me? Well, actually what drives me is the fact that I want to push myself and see what I'm made of. So I keep embarking on one expedition after another because I really want to know the kind of metal I'm made of. I think that's what drives me. That's what pushes me from one journey to another. Let me show you the kind of terrain that I drive on. This is the kind of terrain, primarily. This was in the northern Himalayas just 2 months back. Can you spot the vehicle in this picture? Somewhere? Can you see that? Okay, so this is one of the most to Kishtwar in Jammu and Kashmir. So this is the Kilar Kishtwar road that I drove on just in the month of September. We did this. So this is the kind of terrain. When I say extreme overlanding, this is basically the kind of terrain that I drive on. You guys know this, right? Where is this? Come on. You guys know what this is. Where is this? Either you all are sleepy. Where is this? It's Ladakh, yeah, it's Pangong Tso, right? Movies. So, like I said, I get hired to drive. So in June this year, you've heard of Porsche company, the car company. So they hired me to do this 22-day extreme overland expedition where I drove their Cayenne. They wanted some back on this particular SUV. So these roads. Do you see that? This is the kind of terrain. Do you recognize what's on the right? What's that on the right? Do you recognize it? River and then further up. Yeah, that's a glacier. That's the Parkach Glacier, scar. This is again basically the kind of terrain that I drive on. It all started in the Western Ghats for me. I belong to Bangalore, and I started with jeeping, and that's my first jeep, the most, as far as I'm concerned. Those days, I had money to buy an SUV. So what I did was, I bought a jeep that was looking, have you seen jeeps that stand in workshops that you feel are all gone and there's nothing more to it? The condemned jeeps, you've seen those? This is like that. And I bought that chassis, went to the after sale, the Gujri, you know what a Gujri is? Where they sell these second-hand parts and all that. So I bought myself a Bolero engine, fitted it on this Jeep, and that's how my driving started. So it started with building this Jeep. And then this happened. This happened last year. This, can you tell me how many countries? Okay, take a minute and look at this map and tell me, register the countries it must have passed through. This is my actual route, okay? This is out of my GPS. And the flags are where I stayed. So that's basically. How many countries? Any guesses? That's good memory, I must say. That's not coming out of my reading that map. That's coming out of good memory. Good for you. Great. Do you want to see some glimpses from this one? Do you want to see some pictures from this journey? Great. So this was, normally when we do extreme overland journeys, that's from one country to another. This was, of course, transcontinental, Delhi, London. When you cross from one country to another, normally when you fly, you have international airports, right? So the flight comes from, you can do your immigration and passport control at these airports. So just like that, when we drive from one country to another, there are certain land entry and exit points. Okay, so in India, on the eastern is from a place called Moreh, Manipur, up on the map. So this was on my way to Moreh, bad cyclone. And this is how the road looked. Well, there was no road for a good 5-6 kilometers. Where do you think this is? You saw that map. Come on. Where is it? Myanmar. You're right about that. It is Myanmar. And you know the reason I put this picture out there? What do you think is on their face? Face pack. And I found it so fascinating because everybody you see in Myanmar, the women, they all have this pack on the face, be it on the road, in the market, everywhere. So just to keep their skin from tanning and to keep it, nice. But it's fascinating because they're walking around like this. You would normally imagine this to be at home, right? But all over you'll see women like this. I found that quite cute. Where do you think this is? China. What is this on the left? Can anybody guess? This one. It's not a guest house. Okay, come on, guesses quick now. No, it's not a temple. No. Quick. Quick. Any more guesses? You know what it is? It's actually a mosque. You will be surprised that China has a reasonable Muslim population, and the mosques there don't look anything like what we see here. Okay, and that's how they look. And the only thing that will give it away, perhaps, is that this half moon on top, which you can't see, obviously, in this picture. But it was fascinating how integrated even Islam is to a country like China. The one on the right, well, I don't expect you to guess, but have you guys heard of the river Huanghe? Yes? So I also heard about the river Huanghe when I was in school like you. So I was really curious to see this river, and I was lucky to go to the source of the Huanghe, where it's called the Pearl of China. Otherwise, what's it called? Yeah, This was still when it's pearl. Where do you think this is? Go back to that map in your head now. Where do you think this is? No. 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 I'm waiting to hear it. Sorry? No. Okay, what if I told you this is still China? Mongolia. This is still China. This is a place called Kashgar. Look up this place on the map. Okay, and Kashgar is in China. You would imagine that whole of China is full of Chinese-looking people, right? The Han, the dominant population. No. This is a province called the Xinjiang province, which is in the northwestern corner of China. It's a huge province. Kashgar borders 7 countries, okay, this particular province. From Mongolia to India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan, all of these countries surround this place. And you know why I've put this up here? Because I want you to know that this is, in history, perhaps an extremely significant place on the Silk Route. Even today at Kashgar, when I went to the market, I was surprised to see what I found. I mean, from Persian carpets to grain from Southeast Asia to, stones from somewhere else. It is so full of history, this particular place. But you know what? This place is also disturbed today. And I want you to go read up. These people who inhabit Xinjiang and Kashgar are called the Uyghurs. Have you ever heard of them? So these people are of Turkish origin, and they've settled in this particular place. So go and read up about what is it that they're facing in China. And also about Kashgar. It's fascinating because as much as you think history is of the past, when you go to places like this, you realize that it's alive. I mean, you go on the street, you talk to people, you talk to some old people, and they'll have stories as recent in their heads about how travelers from all over came into Kashgar and stopped there. Where do you think this is? How many of you have heard of the Pamir knot? All of you, wow, fascinating. Great, great. And how many of you think that the Pamir knot is like something like that? You know what? This is of course not at the Pamir knot, what you think geographically, but this is somewhere there. These are the Tian Shan Mountains, which of course are one of the ranges that originate from the Pamir, just like you have the Karakoram. But till I went here, even I thought the Pamir knot was like a naughty thing. And it actually looks like this. It's just geographically, you think that, this land must be what it is, but it's just normal looking land. And the fascinating part about the land here is that each range is characterized so differently. Like these are the Tian Shan, you see them in different colors. So similarly, you have they're not the Karakoram ranges yet, but you have far more rocky ranges coming out of this place. So that later becomes the Karakoram in our country. Where do you think this is? Who said, what was that? Where do you think this is? Quick, quick, quick. You know the route I took. Come on, you had good memory, I thought. Okay, no, it's not Afghanistan. So from China, I entered Kyrgyzstan. Have you even seen this country on the map? Yes? So, okay, even if you haven't, forget it. When you look at this picture, what can you tell about this country? Quick, 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 and speak one at a time. Then it'll be interesting, right? Do you want to raise your hands? I want you guys to interpret what this picture is. Yeah, go ahead. Underdeveloped, interesting. Open area, yes. Nobody else?
A very less quantity of cars and other vehicles.
Very interesting. You know what? Between these three responses, we're spot on. I'll tell you why. Because this country was part of USSR. You know the Soviet Union, right? And it's only in 91 that they became independent. Yes? So while this country wants to develop like at really fast pace, that's the kind of people. So they're basically nomads who rear animals and who've now settled down in these different towns, right? So I found this particular picture so interesting because if you see, you have animals on the road and you have a car and you have street lights in the middle of nowhere. Do you understand how that's contrasting? I mean, the country is still trying to develop. There's so much happening. And the reason I put the picture is also because the time I drove in Kyrgyzstan, I was pretty much driving amidst sheep. Every second kilometer you had like big numbers of sheep that you would navigate through, though it was a road. So it's interesting. This particular country was very, very fascinating. Where's this? Okay, this is just a picture to show you that living in India, you might believe that Pengong Tso is like India is blessed with Pengong Tso. Well, you have a lot of such lakes out there in the mountains. So this particular one is called Songkul in Kyrgyz. It's exactly like Pengong with no whatsoever distractions other than just the lake and the mountains. So, and there's another very big lake in Kyrgyz called Issyk. Where do you think this is? Where is this? Quick! Sorry? Afghan? No, okay, I did not go to Afghanistan, so you can rule that out. Where is this? No, it's not Kyrgyzstan. Where is it? It's not Uzbekistan, bang on. It's Uzbek, and the reason I put this out there is in this country, just like you would find cows on the road out here, you find camels out of nowhere. I mean, while driving, the first time I saw it, I was so fascinated, got off, took pictures and whatnot. And after that, I realized that there are just wild camels roaming around all over the place. So it was pretty interesting. Okay, who is this guy, Amir Temur? Who is he? Students of history, you guys have studied. Who is Temur? Who is Temur? Anybody who knows? Who is he? Yeah. Sorry? Sorry, he entered what? No. This guy is not that. He is something to do with the Mughals. You're very right. Perfect. Spot on. Where was Babur born? Huh? No. Babur was born in Uzbekistan, FYI, okay, in a place called Andijan, where I went to see. I have been fascinated about where these Mughals came from. So Babur's ancestry on one side is Amir Temur, and the other side is Genghis Khan, the famous of the two, but both were as barbaric, I guess. So this was his mausoleum at Samarkand in Uzbekistan. Where do you think this is? Okay, so it's Kazakhstan, and the reason I put it out there is, do you see how the land has become so flat? It's just so flat. To the horizon, there's really nothing. Do you see that? Yes, no? So this is how this country looks. I mean, as far as you can see, it's just flat land, and that's it. And this, you know where it is. Russia next, right? How many of you have watched this movie, Enemy at the Gates? Has anybody watched it? It's a war movie. Yeah? Yes, what is it about? Stalingrad. Perfect. And you know what? That was the first reverse Hitler's forces faced. And it was a very, very, very bloody battle. It's the Battle of Stalingrad. You must go and read up about it in World War II. And you know where it was fought? Right there, where you see that statue now. So this is Volgograd. Again, I personally am fascinated by war and all of this. So I wanted to see this memorial. So this is a statue. They've built a war memorial now in Stalingrad. Earlier called Stalingrad, now Volgograd. And the other one is just Moscow, Red Square, and you've seen that. This is pretty much how roads, I mean, if I were to sum up how roads in Russia looked, it's like this. So it's pretty straight. You don't have your 4-lane highways. They are mostly 2 lanes. And where do you think this is? This is Finland, finally. Do you see that spike on the map that goes straight north? So these were some roads in Finland. Was a treat to drive because they were quiet, no vehicles, and very good roads. Okay. What is this now? Where do you think this is? Have you guys heard of 66.5° north? What's that? Yeah, that's where that latitude touches the earth. That's one of the places. So you see that white line down there? That's where this latitude touches the ground. So that's 66.5° north. That's at the Arctic Circle. Get it? As much as you believe these are imaginary lines, some have become real. So it's quite interesting. So I wanted to get here to see for myself. This is, I was now getting down further towards Eastern Europe, so had to cross the Baltic Sea. So this was waiting in line for the ferry primarily. Now these countries you and I hear very little about. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. So this was in Latvia. And these are such small countries, it just takes you what? It took me 3 hours to drive through Estonia, the whole country. And then you entered the next. So it was fascinating that in a day you could cross 3 different countries. This is how the land looks. Where do you think this is now? Have you heard of Warsaw? Yes? So this is Warsaw. Right? This is a street stopped for lunch. And this is Warsaw. And this is a quiet German town. And then finally, where is this? The Buckingham Palace, yes. So 97 days, 23,800 kilometers. And I was in London. So that was one hell of a journey. It took what it took out of me for everybody. So I'm now thinking, where from here? So I told you what pushes me. What is it that drives me? I'm seeking to figure out, yes, I could endure Delhi, London, so what next? And that's what is driving me to head to here. And this is where I'm going to be in less than 10 days' time. So look that up. Sorry, those were fish. Those were fish. You know where this is? Where is it? Siberia. Yes, you're right. So where on earth is this? You know where Russia is, right, on this map? Yes? This entire region? This is Russia. Where I am headed to, and from where you saw those pictures, is here. In this section of Russia, right? This is where I'm headed. So that's extreme far northeast. And I'll show you more maps so that you know exactly what I mean. Do you see that? That's just Russia. Just to orient you, do you see Moscow? Yeah? So if I were to go, and we'll be driving through this section primarily. I'll show you the route, so and what this place is all about. Yeah, you see that? The one in blue, that's Yakutia, or the Sakha Republic, which is one autonomous region in Siberia, inhabited by mainly different Yakut tribes, right? So these are people who live in and around the Arctic region, right? So that's where I'm headed, the Sakha Republic. And that's the route. So I basically go from Yakutsk to Magadan, which is at the Bering Strait. So that's a coast. So I drive through this region. So why am I doing this first? What's so special about this place? Okay, so it's India's first overland solo to the pole of cold. What does that mean? I'm alone, and this area is called the pole of cold. Why is it called the pole of cold? Because it has, this region particularly, has certain wind influences. Of course, it's at the Arctic, right, in that region. But it has certain wind influences that sometimes make it colder than the North Pole even. Okay? So Oymyakon, which you must have seen on the map, is a place that is recognized to be the coldest inhabited place on Earth. Okay? Which sees really, really low temperatures. And what is this going to be? It's going to be a self-drive, which means I'm going to be driving a car that's obviously modified to Arctic conditions. For 18 days is what I think it'll take me to cover 5,000 kilometers on this route. Start and end at Yakutsk in the Sakha Republic. Of course, it's solo, self-reliant, and we'll be reaching some remote corners, no doubt. What's the highlight? Well, of course, it's the first attempt by an Indian to drive in the peak of winter. Temperature is definitely a challenge. I told you about Oymyakon, and this road is built on permafrost. Do you know what permafrost is? What is it? Yes, which means the earth is permanently frozen. It never defreezes. So about a good 15-20 feet down, you have frozen earth, right? So think about it, how it could impact or affect your daily living if you were living on frozen earth. What do you think would happen? Can you guess? Yes, you can't grow a thing because you have frozen earth, right? So think about it. Next time you walk outside in the field, thank yourself, thank the stars that you're walking on not frozen earth. Great, so this was built during Stalin's time. You know who Stalin is? Joseph Stalin. Who was he? Sorry? Yes, he headed USSR. He was known to be a dictator. Yes, so he built this road, right? And how did he do it? In the most brutal manner, because he would send prisoners to this area who would obviously die because they had no way of surviving the harsh Siberian winter. And this road was built by them, right? And it's called the Highway of Bones because a lot of them died, and if you have frozen earth, you don't bury them. How would you bury them? So that's how it gets its infamous name. And of course, the people here are mainly reindeer herders and who have... You want to join me on this one? No? What if I told you you can sit here and join me? Would you want to join me? Okay, so great. After you've read, I would love to receive questions from you about what you'd like me to find out when I head there. Make sense? So I'm going to get questions from you. And while on the journey, I will try and answer a few, either through pictures or short videos or written blogs. Will that work? And most importantly, when I'm in Siberia, you and I will Skype. You'll sit here and you'll get to see what I'm enduring out there. Okay, so you can ask me questions even then. And then post the journey, we're meeting again. And I want to hear from you what you learned from this journey. And I'll share my learning, of course. Make sense? Yes? Great. I'm excited, and thank you for being a good audience and listening in. Thank you. Do you have any questions? Yeah.
What do you think was the most scary part of your journey
From
from India to Nigeria?
the scary part. Okay, let me answer it like this. I'm a little warped in the head, okay? And I think fear comes out of a place when you're underconfident or you don't have the skills. And on that journey, I had both. So therefore, I don't know what you mean in terms of fear or scare. Therefore. Anybody else? Great. Should we then get going, ma'am? Thank you.
The woman that finally figured out her worth has picked up her suitcase of pride to board the flight of adventure. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing with us your adventurous experiences and made us visit the amazing 17 countries. The Jaipurian family wishes you good luck, and we look forward to hearing about your experience to this exciting trip upon your return. Thank you.